road trip concludes for the Golden Griffins. A couple of Griffs hit milestones and a big week of college basketball inside the Kessler Athletic Center. Just a few of the topics that we'll touch on this edition of the Jim Barron Show presented by Geico. I'm your host, Ben Wagner, and the head coach, Jim Barron, is alongside as well. Nice little road trip for the Golden Griffins to wrap up. Didn't come away on the winning side, but we saw a lot of good basketball and really tough games, especially down the stretch on both ends.
Well, there's no question about it, Ben. They were very challenging. Both teams are playing with a lot of confidence, with winning prior to us getting there. And, they got some newcomers and they got some veterans. I mean, Fairfield, very physical, very aggressive. Marcus Gilbert's one of the best frontline players in the league. But there was some surprises with Cobb stepping in and the Nelson kid. I mean, they really stepped up and made some great plays. And, I think as we move forward, we're continuing to show our players, how to close out games like we did against Niagara, like we did, with a couple of the other teams that we played. And a lot of that is defending and rebounding, really understanding how to position yourself. And we've been doing some magical tricks with our defense, whether it's man-to-man or zone, but you just have to finish it out and close out the games by really defending and then rebounding, and then on the other end, scoring. And I think, we've been getting to the foul line, and especially Malcolm McMillan. I mean, he's doing a great job, attacking the bucket and getting to the free throw line. But both teams that we played, I mean, were very good, have a lot of upperclassmen that are very talented, and you need to play a full game, and that's where we fell short.
Is that a product a little bit of seeing some of the youthfulness come through at this stage of the game, especially in conference play?
But there's no question about it. It's not only the youthfulness, but it's also an experience. All of a sudden now you're playing in the league, and you're playing against teams that you haven't seen. Fairfield was the first time, and then Ryder. But our guys have to understand, each team presents a little bit of a unique problem. And we went against Ryder, and they have big guards, and all of a sudden, they could see right over you if they pick and roll, or if they want to get it into the post or throw it over the top in the post. So you have to play them a little bit more aggressively. You have to push them to the weak end. But by the same token, we just have to, we have to keep getting better. We got to keep improving on the little things as we get, ready down the stretch now as far as our league games go.
A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the change in pace offensively, I guess is the first place that we would start, but it was a slower pace to the game overall. Over the weekend, it picked back up for the Golden Griffins. Was that a product of your design and wanting to do that, or was it more or less what the opponent would want to play too?
Well, no, I felt that we got to pick it up again, and the reason being is I think we're a lot better, when we do that. We really get the ball down the floor. I mean, we got a chance to see that, in the Quinnipiac game. We got a chance to see that in Manhattan, and as well as a little bit of the Niagara game. We got to really ramp it up as far as attacking, getting the ball down the floor, before teams set up their defense. And again, I think our guys are a lot more effective, with doing that. And all of a sudden, we can get 15 to 20 assists. But as you see, rebounding is something that we have to continue to pick up, because the games like the Niagaras and the Manhattans, we won those games, and a big part of that was rebounding the basketball. Well, we fell short against rebounding the basketball against Fairfield and Ryder, and that's one of the reasons why they were able to come out on top. Not only that, but also our defensive intensity of staying in front of guys and really keeping our position in a way where we don't give them an advantage. A lot of times I talk to the players about, if you allow them to get by you, you give them an advantage, whether it be attacking the basket. Ryder, one of the guards came in off the bench, and Chris let the guy get right to the middle. He went right up the ladder, made a nice teardrop shot. The other one is, one time we didn't keep them in front, and they drove the middle, and then they dropped it off to their big guy. And, those types of things, we have to complete, and we have to really stay focused. And we'll continue to show our players, the film so that we can continue to get better.
How much of, in terms of getting through on the concepts to the players, especially the younger guys, the freshmen and the sophomores that are playing a lot of the time on the perimeter, is spent in breaking down and then trying to show how either they were attacked or then how to handle that kind of situation?
Well, you got to keep, going over it and over it and over it. And again, some guys can pick it up quicker than other guys. But, when you do have, newcomers like an Atkinson, like a Malcolm McMillan, even, Cassius Robinson, Kiefer Dowse. I mean, a lot of these guys, the only one that really played last year was Cassius Robinson coming in off the bench. So you got a lot of newcomers where you got to consistently show them the concept. You got to constantly show them in practice. You show them on film how to stay in front of guys, how to position yourself. And I'm a big believer of being consistent with your approach of how you play against guys. And the reason being is because there's no guessing game. There's no guessing game. Stay in front and again, position yourself. And, we were playing Ryder and we were going a little bit of a 2-2-1 zone, full court press back into a 2 zone. And, their guard came up on Cassius and all of a sudden he fouls him, by just positioning himself. And I'm like, what are you doing? He gives the guy 2 free throws without even doing anything. Again, these are types of things that we can't afford to do as a basketball team because, again, that's part of our defense. And we have to continue to play smart, play hard, and play together as we move forward.
A couple of road games for the Golden Griffins wrapped up. Of course, the first one on Friday night against Fairfield, followed it up with Ryder. Now, the next challenge is a quick turnaround for the Golden Griffins back at home in the Kessler Athletic Center where they're going to settle in for the majority of February, 5 out of the next 8 games. You can go to gogriffs.com or call the ticket office at 716-888-TIXX. That's gogriffs.com online to get all the schedule and promotional information or call 716-888-TIXX. We'll talk more about the opponents ahead, plus about all the successes as well, just to put the wrap on really this past weekend. Down the stretch, things were exposed defensively, I think, and then, of course, it was a very difficult ball game and an emotional ball game, a physical ball game at Ryder. Is there a group of teams outside Monmouth and Iona, and I know St. Peter's has stubbed their toe a little bit, with these kind of battles and tight ball games? Do you expect a lot of that down the stretch with the teams that the Griffs are going to play?
Well, there's no question. Each team, as you look at them, a lot of these teams are, Iona's probably picked at the top of the heat in the league, and they got one of the best guards in the league with A.J. English. He's a junior now. Seems like he's been there forever, but he's a very good player. And, Ryder's got a lot of guys back from last year. So these teams are very physical, very athletic, and very aggressive. So you got to match that intensity, and that's where all of a sudden, when you're playing them, especially, you're playing a Ryder the second time around, now you got to tie them up a little bit tighter. You know what I mean? Because, again, the battle because you played it the first time. And that's what happens. We played Manhattan the first time. Now the second time we're down there, and we knew the physicality of it. And, again, you got to tie them up a little bit tighter, and that's the way it's going to be. Iona, it's been like that since I've been in this league. They're very physical, very aggressive, got some excellent quickness. They do try to score a lot of points. It'll be an exciting game, but it'll be a very physical game, a very athletic game. So we got to be ready to answer the intensity bell. And that's what happens with so many newcomers. Now all of a sudden, we're in the league, and now they're getting a chance to face these teams back to back.
Good thing or bad thing? Because we've seen it a couple of times now on the schedule. One, you haven't played Iona to this point in the year, and here we are in February, so you're going to get them twice in the same month. But also an 8-day lapse in between seeing a team. Good thing or bad thing when the schedule's kind of laid out like this? Would you like to see it kind of evenly spread?
No, things like that happen. Monmouth, it happened in Monmouth a little bit. We played them early on, and then all of a sudden we turned around and played them again quickly. I think when you're putting a team together and where you're working on progressing and improving, you got to worry about yourself. these teams, and you've seen it, I mean, there's no bad teams in this league. I mean, I look at a lot of leagues where all of a sudden, you know, they don't have a lot of wins or they don't have any league wins, you know. I mean, a lot of teams don't have any league wins. And all of a sudden you come to this league and, I mean, the top teams to the teams that are down below, I mean, every team is a good basketball team. And you got to worry about yourself and worry about trying to get yourself better because, you know, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you got to work on keep improving and keep getting better and get your players. Keep working on getting your players. And that's what I told our kids. I said, listen, I believe in you guys. You know, we got to believe in each other. We got to believe in one another, and we got to work to get better. That's the key on this whole process. You got to work to get better because if you could keep improving, you can keep coming together. That's what makes it special.
While the Golden Griffins are working on the hardwood, their classwork continues nonstop, year-round. We'll talk about some recent academic successes with head coach Jim Barron as this edition of the Jim Barron Show continues, presented by Geico here on the Golden Griffin Broadcast Network.
I'll ride the highway, I'm going my way.
If you're a free-range chicken, you roam free. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do.
This edition of the Jim Barron Show continues here over the Golden Griffin Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Ben Wagner. Thanks for joining us for this show as we prep for home basketball at the Kessler Athletic Center coming up on Friday against Iona, and then the quick turnaround on Sunday afternoon facing the Rider Broncs once again. Head coach Jim Barron is next to us as well as we continue on the heels of a road trip weekend that's all a couple of milestones, and it's always nice to see career highs, academic successes on top of the on-court successes. They get most of the headlines, and Malcolm McMillan and Kevin Bleeker were both able to do those. Let's start first on the hardwood before we start about their book successes. Kevin Bleeker had gone 4 years without posting a new career high. He matches up against Fairfield, and a game that you and I talked about in the pregame show, needing inside presence to establish something and sort of force Fairfield to drop down. And Kevin Bleeker comes away shining with 19 points and a new career high.
Well, he did a great job, and you know, that's the thing about Kevin, and we keep talking about trying to get the ball inside to him, but you know, he's a guy that can go inside and go outside, and you know, again, he's one guy that, you know, we just want to continue to get him to be as consistent as possible because he is a guy that's 6'10", and he's a guy that could step away, shoot the three-point shot, but then around the basket, he's very effective too. What he does that people a lot of times don't come back into the stats is if they double team him, he'll kick it out, and then we reverse it, and most of the time get open shots on the weak side. So, you know, Kevin is a great kid. You know, I constantly challenge him to be more aggressive, you know, because he has a demeanor that he's such a nice young man. And but again, you know how physical, how aggressive, you know, this game can become. And you know, I have a saying, you know, it's a street game, you know, and you got to be a street fighter. And you know, I mean, basketball is something that's very, very aggressive, very, you know, it's you got to be battle tested, you know, each and every time. And you know, I like Kevin to be as physical and aggressive as he possibly can.
At the mid-major level, Coach, sometimes you see big guys that have one or the other. Good feet, maybe bad hands. Good hands, maybe bad feet. How good is the combination for Kevin Bleeker?
Well, Kevin, well, the first thing, he's been battling an injury on his ankle the whole year. Jacob's done a great job working with him and trying to get him ready. But, you know, Kevin is a guy, I mean, he's been playing, you know, overseas every summer with the over in the Netherlands, and I've had another player that's from there, Peter Van Possen, that played for me. Peter was 6'10", 6'11", left-hander that played for me at St. Bonaventure. So, but Kevin is a guy that, you know, he's got good hands, good feet, can shoot the basketball. I love guys that can step away and shoot the three, and we really encourage him to do that because it really opens it up, especially for our guards. But he's a terrific young man, and you know, he's been here as long as I've been here, and you know, he's one of the guys that not only on the basketball court has he done very, very well, but academically, you know, he's getting his master's degree, and you know, that's very, very significant. I mean, I don't take that lightly as a coach, because you know, in this game of basketball, being a student athlete is so vital. You know, academics, you know, gives you a lifetime advancement when you get your degree, especially if you get a master's degree, because that opens up a lot of doors when your basketball career is over. And for him to have it, and the other young man that you know is doing that as well is Malcolm McMillan. So, you know, these things are very, very invaluable to me. And since I've been here, you got Chris Manhertz got his master's, you got Chris Perez got his master's degree. So these types of things are very, very significant as a coach, you know, and I'm a big believer in being a student athlete and getting these guys to understand the long-term investment of a degree from Canisius College. It's not a short-term, it's a long-term investment. When their basketball careers are over, now they have something to fall back on, and I think it's invaluable in their career.
Every person that has seen time on the hardwood for head coach Jim Barron has earned their degree here at Canisius College, and the master's component as well for Kevin Bleeker is a master's degree in sports administration, the same thing that Malcolm McMillan will be working on, and he hit a nice milestone over the weekend as well. It's always significant when you've got somebody, one that sees as much floor time with the point production as well, but to hit those certain milestones. He got his 1,000th point on Sunday afternoon. I mean, to put together that body of work and what he's able to do in the assists and things away from the basketball, and then to deal with everybody in this league tugging on his jersey as he's trying to fight through screens, I mean, that is really a yeoman's effort.
There's no question. And again, you know, to have a young man like that for 1 year is something that is very, very incredible. But because, you know, the other thing is he hasn't played for 2 years prior to coming to Canisius College. So, you know, to have him for 1 year, and it's like, you know, putting a doctorate program together on the basketball court, you know, where you're really trying to give him a full course of work in one season, whether it's the defensive end, whether it's being a point guard, whether it's, you know what I mean, being a quarterback and those types of things. And, you know, especially when you've been sitting out for 2 years, you know what I mean? Now all of a sudden you come in and, you know, you're one of our captains, one of our leaders, and a guy that, you know, he started out great. And again, to have that achievement is very, very significant, along with getting a master's degree. It's very, you know, I'm very, very proud of these guys.
Coach, Malcolm McMillan is probably one of the guys, too, where behind the scenes, there are little days off, little hours off, honestly, from being a student athlete. I mean, between practices, the game demands, the travel, plus the academic course loads. There are times where your body, my body ache. We just want to shut it down and just take a minute to collect themselves. When it comes to the academic course load and the requirements here at Canisius College, these guys aren't afforded that ability. That takes a very mentally strong person to grind through what is asked of them through the fall when basketball starts and bridges then into the spring semesters. Yeah,
there's no question. I mean, it's all part of the responsibility of being a student athlete here at Canisius College, and you know, I mean, it's all part of the process. And you know, when you see these guys, you know, when they graduate, and we got 3 guys: Malcolm McMillan, Kevin Bleeker, and Jamal Reynolds. I mean, they're 3 guys that are going to be graduating this year, and they're all on track to graduate. They're all on time, and you know, it's a beautiful thing to see these guys transform into student athletes, and to have 2 guys get their master's degree beside having their undergraduate degree is something that's, you know, that's very, very, you know, it's very special.
And you support the cause, too, of some of the student athletes getting their degree from an undergraduate perspective. The academic luxuries that are here at Canisius, you can do that in 3 years, too.
Well, you know, we try to take advantage of summer school, and a lot of times people use summer school, especially in football, to try to get kids eligible. We try to use summer school to keep them advanced so that, you know, they may have a chance to graduate in 3 years. I know Chris Manhertz did that. And, but again, you have to be pretty disciplined, and you got to be focused and have your priorities in line. And, I know Chris he did a yeoman's job of doing that and took advantage of the summer school courses, and he constantly stayed ahead and made sure that he passed the courses and was on time, and he was able to do it in 3 years. And again, I give him all the credit, and I give players like Kevin Bleeker the same type of situation of really stepping up and being able to get a master's degree. So it's very, very significant.
By the time the season concludes and then the academic semester obviously wraps up, Kevin Bleeker, Malcolm McMillan will have their master's degrees in sports administration. Congratulations to both of those young men. And once again, just pointing out, everybody that has played under Jim Barron here at Canisius College has earned their degree. So congratulations to not only the head coach, but the entire coaching staff for making sure they're sharp in the classroom. We have to wrap up the Jim Barron Show coming up in a couple of moments. We'll talk about the weekend ahead. A top flight team in the MAC arrives at the Kessler Athletic Center, and the Golden Griffins will look for a little revenge against Ryder. We'll talk more about the schedule ahead with the head coach as the Jim Barron Show continues, presented by Geico here on GoGriffs.com and the Golden Griffin Broadcast Network.
I'll ride the highway. I'm going my way.
If you're a free-range chicken, you roam free. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do.
The Jim Barron Show is presented by Geico, and it continues before the Golden Griffins arrive back at the Kessler Athletic Center coming up on Friday and on Sunday. Big ball games. We hope you can see us inside the Kessler Athletic Center. Go to GoGriffs.com for all schedule and promotional information, or call the box office, 716-888-TIXX. One more time in case you're listening to the show tonight, 716-888-TIXX. It's great to have the student body back in the house. It's great to see full crowds arrive at the Kessler Athletic Center. And let's be honest, Canisius fans need to make their voice heard because you're going to need them this weekend, especially with Iona rolling in here on Friday night.
Well, you saw how it was on the road. I mean, we went down to Ryder, and, they had one section behind the basket. They had one section on the sidelines where it was just packed with students, and they had barriers that were holding the students back. So, it's really, to have that kind of support is very, very important, especially for the student athletes, because they feel that, and they feel that emotion, they feel that excitement, they feel that enthusiasm, and you see it throughout college basketball how important it is to have that environment. You know what I mean? And I've always been a big believer of doing anything that we possibly can to get those students into the Kessler Center and make it a very, very exciting atmosphere. And again, we're playing two that Iona's, they're picked at the top of the heat in the league, and they're a very good basketball team, got excellent athleticism. A.J. English is one of the best guards in the league. He's been touted now this is the third year of being one of the best point guards in the league at 6'3", 6'4", and then we turn around and we got Ryder, who we just played. So again, this is a big week for us. It's an exciting week. And hopefully we can get a great turnout of students as well as support.
It starts on Friday night at 7 p.m. at the Kessler Athletic Center. The Gales will come in here. As Coach mentioned, A.J. English kind of leads the charge. He was not part of this scenario for Iona. Early in the season, he was injured, came back, and barely looks like he has missed a beat in league play. How do you stop A.J. English?
Well, he's another big guard, and that's the challenge for us. I mean, our guys have really got to clamp down, and he's the type of player, when you're playing against teams like this, you got to not only worry about him, but you got to worry about the rest of the team, because again, when you play against a great player, I mean, he's going to get his numbers. I mean, he's going to get, but now you got to make sure that the other players, their other bigs and their other athletes don't have big games. And then the second part of that is you got to really rebound the basketball, so that gives you the opportunity to attack them. And the big thing with Iona, it's an up-tempo game because they're trying to score a lot of points. You're trying to score a lot of points, and it's going to be a game that goes back and forth, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
With A.J. English and his size, you see point guard versus point guard. I mean, it's easy to think, all right, well, Malcolm McMillan's going to guard A.J. English. Do you put a little wrinkle on that with a little bit more size or athleticism?
Well, we're going to look at everything. I mean, we'll look at everything as we prepare. But again, a lot of times it's, you put your top guard on their top guard. And, again, Malcolm has done a fine job with playing against some of the really good guards in this league. And, I know he did a good job in the Manhattan game. He did a really good job, in the Niagara game. So these are the types of things that, you got to look to challenge guys too. I love to challenge guys, whether it's Cassius Robinson playing on an off guard, or whether it's Malcolm McMillan, or, Jamal Reynolds or Kiefer. It's important for them to understand. Phil Valenti playing at the 4 spot, being able to guard, a Marcus Gilbert, you know what I mean, from Fairfield. Those are the types of things, and you hope that as you challenge your players, they challenge themselves with being really excited to play against those types of players, because this is what it's all about. It's about competition. It's about, competitiveness and working together and trying to get the best, your best players against their best players and be ready to go.
How much of a luxury it is for the Golden Griffs to have a lot of their travel and league play now behind them in January. 5 out of the next 8 games at home. Well,
we just got to take them one game at a time, and hopefully we can get a great crowd, in the Kessler Center to really, make it a special atmosphere. And the reason being is because all the places we go to, seems like it's, whether it's up at Niagara or whether it's at Fairfield or whether it was at Ryder. I mean, they were packing the house, and Ryder, I mean, they couldn't even fit people in there, But again, that's the exciting type of basketball atmosphere that I know I love as a coach, and I know being a former player, I know my players love to have that kind of atmosphere. So it's going to be a very exciting weekend for us, and we hope everybody can come out. The student body comes out, and and we're ready to go against 2 really good basketball teams in Iona, and then turn around and play Ryder.
Of course, Iona's on Friday night at 7 p.m. You've got the afternoon tip at 3 p.m. against Ryder coming up on Sunday afternoon, which is Super Bowl Sunday. Still home games against Niagara. You've got Fairfield coming in here. St. Peter's is a team that the Golden Griffins have not played yet. Those are the type of teams that are arriving at the Kessler Athletic Center. Go to gogriffs.com for all the complete schedule, promotional information. Make sure you're on time. Make sure you're there early as well. Why not start to rattle the rafters a little bit before the opening tap? Absolutely. GoGriffs.com is where you can find all the information. Get your tickets at 716-888-TIXX. That's 716-888-TIXX. I'm really looking forward to basketball this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, and especially with the weather being the way it's been unbelievable. With just outside, and we went down to New York and we saw all the snow that was down in New Jersey and New York, and here we are in Buffalo, and the streets have been terrific, and the weather's been great. You
know what it is? It's perfect weather to just paint your body and then head to the Kessler Athletic Center. You won't even need a winter coat. We'll see you on Friday night against the Iona Gales. This edition of the Jim Barron Show has been presented by Geico. I'm your host, Ben Wagner. Go to gogriffs.com or join us on WECK for all the play-by-play coming up this Friday night. We'll see you a little bit before 7 o'clock. Thanks for joining us for the program this week.